Elly here from Thankful Flow Yoga. Thank you so much for joining me for another one of these YouTube practices as part of the Root and Grow January series. And today we're going to be looking at the throat chakra, so the fifth chakra, Vishudda. And this chakra is all about self-expression, choice, liberation. So we're going to be doing some poses that will be opening up and closing through the throat chakra today, but as always there'll be lots of different options etc. throughout. So we'll get started today in a standing position on your mat. Position on the mat, start to ground through the feet, and we'll close off the eyes or taking a steady gaze. And start to relax through the shoulders. Grow the spine tall, reach the crown of your head towards the ceiling. And start connecting to your breath. Notice where the breath's traveling to in your body. Observing any inhales and exhales and where the breath is traveling to. Observe any thoughts passing through the mind. Notice if there's a gentle sway in the body. Notice any sensations that you can feel. Checking in with how you're feeling today. Start to slowly open the eyes when you're ready. I'm going to bring the chin down towards the chest. And then start to roll the right ear over towards the right shoulder, coming into a half neck roll. Option to bring your right hand here and rest the right hand on the left side of the head. Release the hand, draw the chin back down to the chest and roll the left ear over towards the left shoulder. Again, option to lightly use your hand here. Breathing. Feeling the neck opening up. And we'll start to come around to the other side again. And this time you've got the option to drop the head back, opening through the throat. This does not feel right for you or does not feel good, then take the half neck rolls. You can pause for longer where you might feel that you need to. And then start to come back to a neutral position with the head. Grounding through the feet. Inhale, sweep your arms up to the sky. And then I'm going to come into a twist from here. So as you exhale, the left arm comes out in front and the right arm comes out behind you, and your gaze follows towards the right fingertips. So really twisting from the waist and keeping the feet grounded. Strong connection to earth through the feet. Inhale, sweep the arms back up to neutral. Exhale, come onto the other side. Right arm comes forward, left arm comes back. Keep breathing in between as much as you need to. Inhale, sweep the arms back up to center. And then take your right arm on the left wrist. So I'm wrapping my fingers around the left wrist. Inhale, reach up and out the waist and then stretch over to the right. So I'm using this right arm as a bit of a lever, but again, really, this is really gentle. I'm not really tugging on the left arm and I'm being kind and compassionate towards the body. Coming into a stretch, feeling the left side body opening up. Inhale through to neutral, switch the hands over, left hand wraps around the right wrist. Inhale, lift up and out of the waist. Exhale, coming over to the left, right side body, opening up. Breathing here. You might notice that the core is activated here. Thinking about our root chakra, Muladhara, thinking about our chakra in the solar plexus, Manipura. Inhale back to neutral and release the arms. Take a couple of shoulder rolls, take a shake out and release. And then from our standing position, drawing the chin into the chest again. So we're closing off the throat chakra. And then keeping this rounding, start to slide your hands down towards the mat. Thinking about as if you were sliding your hands down your body, but remembering that you can bend the legs as much as you need to. So we've got a rounded spine. And we're slowly coming down until you find a forward fold. So feet roughly hip width apart, bend the legs as much as you need to. And let the head and the neck hang heavy. Take any gentle movement that feels good in the body. Option to bring the hands to elbows. Observe where you can feel the stretch. Let gravity do the work. Release the hands from the elbows and start to curl the body back up with a rounded spine. Take a deep in-breath. Slowly make your way back up to standing, meeting back in your Tadasana mountain pose. Ground through the feet at the top of your mat. Inhale, sweep your arms up to the sky. Lift your ribs away from your hips. Exhale, hinge at the hips, come into a forward fold. Starting to come through our sun salutation A now. Inhale, lift the chest, lengthen the spine, halfway lift. Fingertips could be coming to the mat, but they could be coming to the shins, maybe the thighs. Exhale, float the hands down, step the legs back. And start to come through your version of Chaturanga. So that could be on the inhale, coming through into your cobra, or maybe you're coming into an upward facing dog. If you're going for the upward facing dog option, just making sure that the thighs, the legs are coming away from the mat. The shoulders are above the wrists. Exhale, come back through your downward facing dog. You might be coming through tabletop pose here, or you could be coming straight back from your upward facing dog, taking the version of Chaturanga that is going to serve you most today. And that might not be just because you can do the full version. It doesn't mean that that's what you need today. Listening to your body. Thinking about how you need to express yourself in this practice, coming back to what this throat chakra symbolizes. Keep lifting your hips to the sky, send your gaze between your knees. Remember that child's pose is always an option. Inhale, start to step or walk the feet in towards the hands, lift the chest, lengthen the spine, halfway lift. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, sweep the arms up to the sky, reach the crown of your head to the ceiling. Exhale, bring the hands through to heart center. Start to step the right leg back and open out into this wide leg stance and point the toes forwards. You could slightly pigeon toe the feet here if that feels good too. And we're going to bring the hands to the hips. Inhale, reach the crown of your head to the ceiling, lengthen the spine. As you exhale, hinging from the hips, start to come forwards. You could be working here in your prasarita. You could have some blocks in front of you to bring the ground up closer. Or maybe you're coming down, maybe your hands are reaching the mat. You could be working towards bringing the hands in line with the feet. But that is just an option. Lightly bring the weight forwards through the balls of the feet. Breathing into the pose. Bring the hands back to the hips if you'd release them, and inhale slowly. Raise the chest away from the ground, coming back up to neutral, keeping the core activated, keeping the spine long. And then pivot the feet so the toes are pointing out, so still in a wide leg stance. Inhale, reach the arms up to the sky, lift the ribs away from the hips. Exhale, bend through the knees, float the arms down. We're going to bring the hands to the thighs and then start to drop the left shoulder down. So we're coming into a lovely stretch here. You can send the gaze up towards the ceiling if that feels good too. Inhale, come back through to neutral. Exhale, drop the right shoulder down. Send the gaze up towards the sky or in that direction. Inhale, come back to neutral and release the legs. And then we're going to start to pivot. So pivot to the left. So we want the left foot facing forward and this right foot is at a slight angle. So find your foot foundations first and make sure that the hips are square. So really important that we've got the hips shining forwards. When you're ready, take a deep in-breath, reach the crown of your head to the ceiling. As you exhale, hinging from the hips, coming forwards, left hip nice and tucked in. Coming to this halfway point here in your pyramid pose. Maybe you're up slightly higher. If that's where you're at, then work there. But if you are able to come down lower, even if you can bring your hands down to the mat, here today, let's try and stay in this halfway point. And think about this back right leg, keeping it nice and active and rooted. Feeling the opening through the back of the left leg. Perhaps you can feel a stretch in the lower back. Reconnect to your breath. Inhale, come back up to neutral, slowly. And then start to pivot back around, so back to your wide leg position, toes pointing forwards to begin with. Find a neutral spine and notice the pelvis here. Sometimes it's very common to have a pelvic tilt, so you could have an anterior or a posterior pelvic tilt. So sometimes our pelvis is naturally tilting either way. And don't worry if you're not really exactly sure what I'm talking about here, but maybe just bring the hands, one to the belly, one to the lower spine, and just notice if you can feel a natural tilt. And we're aiming towards having a neutral pelvis. This helps with our spine alignment. So just thinking about this when we're doing a lot of the poses in yoga. So we'll come back to this in other practices. But inhale, reach the crown of the head to the ceiling, lengthen the spine. Exhale, hinging from the hips, start to come forwards. Option to bring the hands down to the mat if that's where you're at. You could be having the hands on blocks. You could be reducing the range of movement. Coming back to this idea of
self-expression and how you want to express yourself in this practice today. This is what the throat chakra symbolizes. It's also about balance. So thinking about how you can balance the practice with challenging yourself. Maybe there's a little bit of discomfort going out of your comfort zone, but also honoring your body and being kind, listening, knowing when something's too much. Inhale, start to come out of your prasarita, slowly lifting the body back up to neutral. Pivot the toes out. Again, thinking about neutral pelvis here, neutral spine. Inhale, sweep the arms up to the sky, lift your ribs away from your hips. Exhale, bend the knees, float the hands down to the thighs. Start to drop the left shoulder down, coming into this lovely twist. Gaze comes to the ceiling. Inhale, come back to neutral. Exhale, drop the right shoulder down, come into the twist. I don't know about you, but this one feels really nice stretch. Inhale, come back to neutral in your goddess and release the legs. And this time we'll pivot to the right side. So coming into your pyramid pose. So both legs are lengthened, right foot is straight pointing forwards, left foot's at a slight angle, hips are square and pointing, shining forwards. Inhale, lift and lengthen. Exhale, start to come forwards. Maybe you're coming to this halfway point, keeping the right hip tucked in. Breathing here. Pressing the feet down and away into the mat. Keep the left thigh engaged. Feel the stretch through the back of the right thigh. Observe your inhales and your exhales. Inhale, slowly come up from the fold and step the feet in together to the top of the mat, grounding through the feet. Inhale, sweep the arms up to the sky, lift your ribs away from your hips, create space. Exhale, hinge at the hips, come into a forward fold, bend the legs as much as you need to. Hands don't have to come down to the mat, they can hang heavy. Inhale, lift the chest, lengthen the spine, halfway lift. Exhale, float the hands down to the mat, step the feet back, and we're going to drop the knees straight down, coming into a tabletop position now. And once you're in your tabletop position, checking that your shoulders above the wrists, hips above the knees. Inhale, send your gaze forwards, open across the chest, cat and cow. Exhale, drop the head around the spine, come up and out of the shoulders. Inhale, lift the head, shine the heart forwards. And I encourage you to flow with your breath in your cat and cow. So really noticing your inhales and exhales. And coming into that opening on the inhale, shining the heart forwards. And then rounding on the exhale, dropping the head. Taking this as slow or making this as fluid as you need to. This is your practice. I'm guiding you, but only you know your body and what you want to get out of the practice today. Come through your last cat and cow. And then start to sit the hips back to the heels, coming into a kneeling position. Now, if kneeling position is really not comfortable for you, then by all means come into an alternative seated position and make your way into that now. I'm going to come back to this arm sequence that we did earlier. So taking an inhale, sweep the hands up to the sky, lift the ribs away from the hips. On your next exhale, send the left hand forwards, right hand back. Come into a twist here. Send the gaze towards the right fingertips. Inhale, reach the arms back to center. Exhale, come onto the other side. Right arm comes forward, left arm comes out behind you. Take as many breaths as you need to in between. Inhale, come back to neutral. And right hand comes to left wrist. Inhale, lift up and out the waist. Exhale, stretch over to the right. Feel the left side body opening up again. And try and keep light engagement through the core, through our Muladhara. So thinking about keeping the ribs slightly tucked in, but also keeping space across the chest. Inhale back to neutral, bring the left hand to the right wrist. Take a deep inhale, lift up and out of the waist. Exhale, come over to the left, right side body opening up. Breathing here. Inhale, come back to neutral and release the hands. Well done. Take a shoulder roll, take a release through the arms. And then pop your hips down on the mat if they're not already. Place the soles of the feet on the mat. Legs are bent. Engage the core. Bring the arms out in front. And from here, slowly start to bring the spine down to the mat. Slow and engaged movement. If you need to bring your hands down, you absolutely can. And when you're ready, finding your way to a lying position on your mat. Now we're going to work through a finishing sequence of working into shoulder stand, plow pose, and then ear pressure pose. Now, if you know that these options are not for you, and then I offer you an alternative. So you could either be coming into your bridge, so your bridge pose. Definitely thinking about if you've got a blocked hand, you can make it into a restorative bridge. The other option is to come into legs up the wall pose. So bringing your legs to either come up a wall if you've got that to hand, or you could be popping a block under your hips here and working here if you don't have a wall. So coming into whichever option is going to be best for you. If you are coming into your shoulder stand, we're going to start to make our way up there. So starting, and you can, this is really nice actually, so we can work from bridge pose here. So start to bring the pelvis in towards the body and activate the core. And then start to ground through the feet, lift the hips away from the mat. And reach the hips towards the sky, coming into your bridge pose. And then from here, you can either be working here, or you're rolling the shoulders under. So bringing the shoulder blades closer together, roll the shoulders under, and maybe coming up on the toes and finding the hands, bringing them to the lower back. Chin is tucking in towards the chest, and seeing how it feels to come up to your shoulder stand here. If you want to come into shoulder stand a different way, then of course, please do. Really important to keep the chin tucked into the chest here, closing through the throat chakra, but also being mindful of the neck. So reaching the feet to the sky, strong and engaged. Breathing here in your shoulder stand. Watching the belly rise and fall with the breath. And then option from here, you can always bring the hands to the back of the spine to support you. We're going to start to bring the legs down, coming into your plow pose. Now you could have a chair or something behind you to reach and support your legs to bring the ground up closer to you. Or maybe your feet are finding the ground behind you. Really a lot of flexion through the spine here and stretching through the neck. So again, listening to your body, thinking about what feels right. Breathing here. Thinking about how the body is closing in on itself, perhaps as a gesture of looking inwards. Practicing pratyahara, withdrawal of the senses. So really turning your gaze inwards and detaching from the noise of the outside world in this present moment. Option from here to work into your ear pressure pose. So this means bending through the legs and you're guiding the knees towards the ears. It doesn't matter if your knees are not reaching the ears. Basically bending through the legs and the body's curling in on itself. Couple more breaths here, 2 more breaths. And then slowly start to release, again using the hands on the back to support you, bringing the legs away, and then slowly making your way down to the mat, releasing the spine. Bring the soles of the feet to the mat and pause here for a moment. Taking some deep breaths. And then we'll come into our counter pose. We'll come into Matsendrasana fish pose. But again, if this fish pose is not for you, then I suggest coming into a gentle heart opener here. So it could be that you're working with a bolster and you're popping that underneath the spine and the head and taking an opening here, or an alternative heart opener if that's something that you wish to take. You're coming into your fish pose, you're lengthening through the legs, and then you're sitting on the tops of the hands. So the tops of the hands are coming underneath the hips, or the wrists, I should say. And then start to puff up and out of the chest. So we're puffing the chest up and rolling the shoulders back. And then the crown of the head's coming towards the ceiling as you press the forearms into the mat. Opening across the chest, opening through the Vishudda, through the throat, counterposing the sequence that we just did. Breathing here. And release the head, release the spine back down. Take the hands out from under the hips. And let the body melt into the mat. Closing off the eyes. And we'll come into Shavasana to finish off the practice. Option to face the palms of the hands to the ceiling. Let the feet drop out to the side. Notice your breath as you inhale through the nose. Notice how the air feels. Check in with how you're feeling as we come to the end of the practice, whether that's physically, mentally, emotionally, or otherwise. Connecting to the different layers of the body, of the self. Sometimes if you did the finishing sequence of shoulder stand, plow pose, ear pressure pose, this sequence can feel really releasing, can feel quite intense, and can often bring up lots of different feelings. So allow yourself some time to sit with whatever's coming up for you. And if you have more time or would like to stay in your Shavasana for longer, then please do, and you can let this video start to drift away. If you're ready to start coming out of the practice, then slowly make your way up to a seated position on your mat, taking your time, keeping your eyes closed if you can. And we'll finish off the practice with a releasing breath. So I'll count for 3 on the inhale through your nose, and then exhale out through your mouth, taking a releasing breath, a bit like a sigh. If you prefer to work with your own breath, then please do. So inhaling for 1, 2, 3, exhale, release. Opening the eyes back up when you're ready. Taking a steady gaze. Take as much time as you need to come back into the physical body. Thank you so much for joining me for this practice. I really hope you enjoyed it. Please do give me your feedback, or do come and connect with me on Instagram or via the Thankful Flow community. The link to join my community is below in the description. I'm so relaxed now that my sentences may or may not be making sense. But yeah, thank you so much for joining me for this Root and Grow January series. There will be further videos coming out throughout January, so do keep a lookout. Subscribe to this channel and to support this free yoga resource. And I can't wait to see you again very soon. Bye-bye.